John Hanlon is joining us. And John comes in on a regular basis, brings in a tech gadget, usually from Verizon, correct?
Right, yes.
And so he's got the new Galaxy Note 3. And I was in Radio Shack the other day, and I saw this thing. This thing is absolutely massive. So my assumption is that this is really good for video. We'll get to that. But really the Note's big claim to fame is that if you're somebody who writes a lot or you draw or something like that, this is probably the phone for you.
Right. As you might guess from the name, the Note, this is the third installment of the Galaxy Note from Samsung. And it's got a massive screen, 5.7 inches, and the screen is really, really high quality, really nice screen. And it is primarily for people who just want a massive screen, or if you take a lot of notes, if you find yourself making drawings, or you can handwrite someone's phone number or email address, and then it automatically will input that into a contact for you, which, those types of things, there's always an upside downside. Personally, I find myself just saying, hey, isn't it just faster just to type it in? But in certain situations where if you find handwriting is easier to do, then this is the phone for you. So again, it's got a massive 5.7-inch screen. That's the big feature of it. It does have a stylus that comes right out of the bottom of the phone, so you don't have to carry around a stylus or anything like that with you. And it has a very cool... It incorporates the handwriting and the drawing very well. Samsung has done a very good job incorporating that into the phone and making it the main feature of it.
Now, kind of talk about that, because you get the phone, and some people are just going to be like, okay, this is just a giant, massive phone that does the same thing that everything else does. So why, what would, obviously, if you're an artist, I suppose it could be a benefit, but artists also carry around tablets with them, a lot, so they may not necessarily need the phones. I mean, so where is the market here? Why do they think that there is such a market? I like it just because of the size of the screen. And occasionally, I like to jot things down. I just write a lot faster than I do with punching in stuff on the keyboard. If there's not swipe. If there's swipe, it goes a lot faster, or you can do the voice commands if Siri would ever get anything correct. So, I mean, what's really the benefit of having a phone that is designed for you to pull out that stylus and actually write or draw on?
Well, I think it sounds like somebody like you, whether it's you're in a meeting and you want to make notes, you don't have a notepad nearby, whether you're an artist and you don't want to, again, bring along that tablet to draw on, and you just want to jot down some quick stuff. I think the market for people who are buying it primarily for the handwriting or to draw is fairly small. But again, I think it's out there, and that's what they're aiming for here. And also just, the big screen. You can't, that's the first thing you notice when you see it, the giant screen, and it's really, really high quality. Videos look amazing on it. We can get into the camera. In fact, I can mention it now, but it also has the camera on it is really, really nice. It's very similar to the Galaxy S4 camera that I brought in a couple months ago and showed off here.
It's a really good camera.
Yeah, amazing camera, very similar, but it's actually got a bump up, and it's slightly better than the S4 camera. And it also, for shooting video, it actually can shoot 4K video. I don't know if you're too familiar with 4K. 4K is basically 4 times better than normal 1080 HD. So most TVs can't even handle the quality that you can take with this, the Note 3. But I think Samsung's just saying here, we're serious about taking photos and videos, and this can take amazingly high-quality videos as well as photos.
So your TV is actually going to make the video quality less than what it is actually at. So they're designing this for a professional who's probably going to keep it for a while.
Right.
I mean, there's no assumption that somebody buys the Note is going to immediately trade it in for something else a year down the line. Is that correct?
I don't think so. And they're trying to make it future-proof as much as they can. And this is the only phone that I'm aware of that is able to record 4K video. And again, most TVs aren't even to the point yet, but they're getting there. I think in the next couple of years, you'll start to see 4K. People will be replacing their home TVs with 4K TVs. So it's future-proofing it like that.
Now, how's the lighting on it? Because sometimes the megapixels are really good. Sometimes, the video quality is great if the conditions are absolutely perfect. So I mean, when you take it in low light conditions, is it grainy? Is it still really good? I mean, how's the camera quality?
Well, that's something they're always working on, and they do a pretty good job on the Note 3. I think in my testing, it was very well. I mean, again, if you don't have any light, you're not going to get a good photo no matter what kind of camera you use, or a good video. So that's always out there, but judging it by the other smartphones on the market, I think the Note 3 does as good or better of a job.
Now, I don't know if you do any photography or anything like that. And I've told you before, my wife is a photographer, and it's funny. I almost made her, the first world meme out there, first world problems and things like that. I almost made her one because she's a photographer, so she can't take a snapshot with her cell phone anymore because it's a reflection on her. People always assume that it's a professional shot, even though she's just like, click, and took it.
Yeah.
So for her, when I see something like the Note, because it has the bigger screen, it's got the higher, the picture quality, but it's video quality. How are the photo editing apps? Is there anything unique that could be with Samsung on this that could really help her? She just pull out that stylus, immediately start quick edit on a photo and upload it to something.
Absolutely. Since it has that stylus built in, you're able to use a lot of the built-in Samsung editing apps. I haven't played around a lot with what the editing can do. One of the features that is just a mode with shooting is actually really unique, and it actually allows you, it's like a panorama, only it's 360 degrees. So you can completely, it tells you, okay, move to the right, move to the left, move up and down, and it gives you a complete 360 look at wherever you are, whatever it is you're taking a photo of. But absolutely, with the stylus built in and with what Samsung has included with the photo app, it allows for much better editing, certainly. And just with the large screen, obviously, you're going to be able to edit photos much easier than you would be able to on the, say an iPhone size screen.
And I know a lot of people have looked at, the Note, and I know some of them, I think a couple of people in this building picked up the first one. Just because in sales and, writing stuff down real quick and things like that while you're having a conversation. And it's a better interpersonal interaction when you're writing as opposed to, I'm sitting here on my phone and I'm jotting something down.
Yeah.
And what, when you look at a product like this, I'm losing my train of thought here, but you can bring this back is something on a phone like the Note. Is it so unique that you don't just need another larger screen Android device? Like, can you do with the S4 what you do with the Note 3? Because you mentioned that there's certain apps, and I think there's certain apps that are specific to the Note that are designed to really utilize its skill set in its functions and features. So can you pick up an S4 and pretty much do whatever you do with that? So have a smaller phone but still be able to accomplish the same thing, or
somewhat. The S4 doesn't have a stylus built in, so obviously that's a big thing. It's missing. That the Note 3 has, and with that you're obviously able to write it does have specific apps that are made for very simple, allow you to get in and jot something down. Again, like I said, you can write somebody's phone number or email address, just handwrite it, and then it will input it directly into a contact form for you, so you can call or email them. So it does definitely cater to people who want to use that stylus, and whether it's text or drawings or whatever.
All right, fair enough. All right, we're going to take a quick time out. We're going to talk about the new iPad that has come out, the Air, right?
Yes, the iPad Air.
And we're also going to mention there's an interesting news article out there involving Google Glass. We're going to talk about that. Joining us right now is John Hanlon. He comes in occasionally with a nice little gadget, and he's talking about the Galaxy Note 3. And you just showed me the 360-degree photo thing. That was really neat. So you can actually, and it guides you, like a panorama will tell you, okay, you got to keep it on this line. This picture will actually just, hey, put the dot in the center of the square, if you will, and take a whole 360-degree photo around you. That's pretty neat. That's really cool. And, all right, so some people are sending some text messages in, John. Can you jailbreak a Note 3? You can tell it's an Apple person talking because it's not called jailbreaking on Android. It's called rooting. But you can always root an Android phone. You can always root it. And Androids get way better rooted. Apples get a little better when they're jailbroken, but Androids, in my opinion, get way better when they're rooted. And it's important to keep in mind, too, a lot of the things that you jailbreak for on iOS are not needed to root on Android, because Android is so much more open and allows you to do things that you would normally need to hack a phone for, but there are apps out there or simple switches, if you know how to do it in the settings, that you don't need to go in and root. Yeah, let's see. Somebody's saying crapple, not adding a phone app to the iPad mini to compete with the Note series was a mistake. I want a much larger screen, and seriously considering jumping ship. Apple is way too slow to move forward. If the iPhone 6 does not have a 5.5-inch screen or larger, I'm done. And this is one of the things that it's kind of always been an Android-Apple debate, because Android leaps forward in technology years ahead of Apple. Apple kind of takes their time. Apple's excuses, we're trying to make sure it works properly, that sort of thing. Is there anything in the future, because we'll talk about the iPad Air here in just a second, is there anything in the future where Apple is going to include a serious larger phone option in one of their tablets?
Well, that's been talked about for years. Or two versions of the iPhone where there's the normal, the iPhone 4-inch like we have now,
Yeah,
and then a larger 5-inch or 5.5, whatever. But we haven't seen that yet. I think there's a good chance that Apple will come out with two versions. We're seeing it now with the iPad Mini, and we've got the iPad Air, two versions of the iPad. I think there's a good chance that the next version of the iPhone could have two screen sizes, because I think a lot of people are wanting that, and it is a big feature for Android.
Well, I mean, look at even the Apple community. After years of saying, "Oh yeah, you don't need a phone that big as these Androids," when Apple came out with the bigger screen, go, "Oh, finally, Apple has a bigger screen."
Yeah.
Because they're loyalists, obviously. There is a huge market for it, and I'm sorry, the iPhone 5, which is the biggest iPhone out there, is way too small for me. I mean, you can't punch the keys properly, and playing video games on this thing is my kid doesn't even play video games on this. She goes to Mom's Galaxy, because it's bigger.
I think 4.5 to 5 is about the perfect range.
That's kind of what people want.
Yeah. The Note 3 is 5.7. That's it's a little too big for me. Again, I think this phone is really aimed at either if you want a giant phone, like if you have big hands, or if you want to do something with the stylus.
Or maybe if you've been on the fence about getting a 7-inch tablet, but you're not quite sure you want a tablet and a phone on it. Sure. This might be a great option for you because it's close in size, and obviously the quality of the screen and everything else is going to work. I will say this, though. With Skype, you can make phone calls with your tablet. And it's going to cost you some money because the regular voice call feature is not free that way. But you can if you wanted to. I don't know what their pricing plans are, but if you wanted to do that with your tablet, you can absolutely do that. So tell us a little bit about the iPad Air. Now, this thing's starting to come out, get some reviews. It's a little bit smaller. Now it's gotten to the point where even the iPads are getting confusing because there's so many different ones on this. So is this just kind of like their laptops where you get the Air? It's just much smaller, much lighter, but it doesn't have the feature set?
Right. Actually, it didn't really lose any features. It's just, I think, a third lighter, so it's now just a pound. And it replaced the old version, so it's not a scaled-down version. It's not like the iPhone 5C versus iPhone 5S, where one is worse. But the iPad Air replaced the previous iPad, and it is a third lighter and slightly faster, and that is pretty much it as far as upgrades. Certainly, if you have the older iPad, I would not suggest upgrading.
Which just came out.
Right.
The older iPad just came out. The iPad Air just came out.
Yeah.
So now they've killed off the iPad?
Is a year old, and now the iPad Air just came out, a week ago.
Yeah. People are always talking about how fast technology moves. So that was the iPad. It was supposed to be, the 3?
This, I believe, is the 5th.
Yeah, but the old iPad that it replaced was supposed to be, the 3 or the 4, but they didn't call it that. They just called it iPad.
Yeah, Apple doesn't refer to theirs. They make it confusing because they don't refer to it like the iPhone. They always add.
They want to be different, man.
Yeah, everything up until the Air, every iPad was just the iPad.
There you go. All right, so when we start looking at the technology going forward, and with iPads, and they're getting smaller, but they're not doing the phones. You've heard somebody complain about it. They're seriously considering jumping ship. What's the best way for them to do it? You can just go into Verizon Play, because Verizon's got the iPhone 5, they've got the tablets as well, and they have the Note, right?
Right, they do. And this Note also is available on Sprint and T-Mobile and AT&T too. So it's available on all the major ones. But yeah, absolutely. Just go into whatever your cell phone carrier is. Verizon's coverage, I think, is about the best in our area from what I've found. Mm-hmm. But whatever your cell phone company is, and just play around with what they got and see if you like it. See if if the really big screen is something for you. Maybe you want a smaller screen. Whatever works best for you. And Android and iOS are very, very different. So you definitely want to play around with it. Though it's going to take a little bit to get used to. So
right.
You shouldn't expect to just walk in and be able to be an expert on it. But if you are not happy with the phone you have, I would seriously consider jumping ship. Whether it's to Android or to iOS, whatever. If you're not happy, one of them, should be able to get you what you want.
And I would say that if you're on Apple right now, and here's one of the big things too with Apple versus Android is that a lot of people on Apple don't want to be on Apple. They want to go to Android, but they've bought these apps and they don't want to lose the apps.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you have somebody who has an Android phone, make a list of the apps that you want. Have somebody who has an Android phone go into the Google Play Store. Here's what I always found is that when I went from Android to Apple because of work, everything that I had on my Android for free cost money on Apple.
Right.
But they had the same exact apps. They were just free on Android. Now, they were ad-supported, So if you wanted to, you can upgrade and get the apps killed off. But if you wanted to keep them free, you could keep them free. And so there's a lot of people really worried about jumping from Apple to Android because they're afraid they're going to lose these apps. And for the most part, they have this. I know that Apple says, oh, we have this many more apps, and they're usually junk apps. They're not real apps that you use on a daily basis. Most of the big, major, popular apps are on both platforms.
Exactly. Yeah, all of the major apps are on both platforms. There's pretty much nothing. It used to be in the early days that Android had certain apps and iOS had certain apps. That isn't the case anymore. All the major apps are on both platforms. And it is, like you said, you're right, that a lot of the iOS apps, for whatever reason, are free or cheaper on Android. And why exactly that is, I'm not sure. Again, I think it might have something to do with the openness of the platform, and Apple controls everything so tightly, and it's one phone. Everybody's got the same phone, and with Android, there are all these different phones, and they might look at it and say, hey, if we don't lower the price, to reach all of these people, we're not going to get it. But like you said, I think a lot of the apps that cost on iOS are free or cheaper on Android.
Yeah. So if you're looking at making the move, if you have an Apple, you're not happy, go in someplace that has your phone or a phone that you're considering, and then the Apple equivalent or the Android equivalent that you want to play with. That way, you can get a pretty good idea. And while they are different operating systems, the Android versus iOS, they're both easy to learn. So it's not like you're going to get an Android phone and be stuck trying to learn the thing for a month or something like that. You'll learn it in probably a couple of hours and be able to navigate around. And then at that point, you're just finding, Easter eggs and tweaks and things like that the power user would use. So it's not like it's going to be too difficult for you to learn. I ran into this story today. I immediately thought of you. I think this is funny that this came out the same day that I'm having you in, John. So we had Grant Carlisle in not too long ago. He brought in Google Glass. He's one of the two people in our area. He's the only one that's allowed to use them on the street. So he brought him in. We got to play with Google Glass for a little bit. And now some lady in California, and I had been saying this, I said, what's going to happen when people start using Google Glass for GPS purposes while they're driving? Because the idea is it's a heads-up display. It's right there. It's not going to impede your vision whatsoever. You don't have to look down at your phone or your GPS or anything like that. It's a safer version of it. And I said, law enforcement is still not going to like that idea. So lo and behold, this lady in California, Cecilia Abadi, or Abadi, whatever her name is, she has Google Glass on there, and I'm assuming she's still in the testing phase, right? You still can't buy this in the general public.
Invitation only still.
So she's invitation only. The cop stopped me and gave me a ticket for wearing Google Glass while driving. The exact line says, driving with monitor visible to driver, Google Glass. Is Google Glass illegal while driving, or is this cop wrong? Any legal advice would be appreciated. She sent this out on Twitter. So now there's the possibility that you can't even use Google Glass. In California, I think is the same place where they actually ticketed somebody who's using GPS on their phone. But in the same time, when I did the story, the GPS in your dash, in your center console, was legal. You just can't have it on your phone. And the person had the phone up there, so the cops saw the GPS because they were having it at eye level and gave them a ticket. But they could easily look down at the screen, which is less safe. That's okay. Having it on your phone at eye level or having it on Google Glass is not okay. I mean, have we heard anything about the way that legislatures are looking at making this type of thing legal? Because it's designed to be more safe.
Yeah, well, we've seen this type of thing before when there's a new technology that is very different from anything that's come before. There's got to be laws made around it. There's got to be rules made around it, and how people can use it and where they can use it. And we're seeing that again with this case. What exactly is this? What they need to define what it is and what it qualifies as. Is it the same as a GPS up there on your dashboard? Is it what is it? What is it considered by law enforcement?
And of course, the thing, and they made a note of this in the article as well, is that Google Glass is off unless you have it active. So it's just a clear piece of glass. There's nothing actually going on unless you turn it on.
Yeah.
So she may not have even been using GPS. She could literally just be driving down the road having glasses on.
Yeah.
And this guy still gave her a ticket. So that'll be an interesting one to see how this whole court case works. I'm sure we'll be following that because it'll set precedent, obviously. But John, it's been a pleasure having you in. The Galaxy Note 3, which is available on Sprint, Verizon, and is it on AT&T as well?
AT&T, T-Mobile, yep, all of them.
So all of them have the 3. I think it's really cool. It's about twice the size of my iPhone 5. It is thinner. And I've got a knife case on my 5 too. So I mean, I've got like 3 built-in knives there, so it's a little bit thicker than normal. But It is much bigger, 5.7 screen, you said?
Yes.
Really good resolution. In fact, the video resolution is beyond what your television can handle right now.
Right.
So it is future technology compatible, at least on the video side of things. Really good camera, you said. That 360-degree camera thing is really, really cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Yeah.
So if you want to go ahead and check it out, head over to your favorite carrier and play around with it. I think it's really neat. It's something that I'll probably consider for my wife and maybe even consider for myself. Not really sure yet. But jhanlon.net is the website, and we'll go ahead and we'll link to you on our page, just like always. We'll have this podcast up there on the website a little bit later on, man.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate it. John, thank you very much for joining us. We got more coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
News Talk 95.3, NNC, Michiana's news channel.